She wants her hair to be as long as Rapunzel's, but it's really fine, and that will never ever happen. Because eventually it's about down here, and then it's like it grows, and then we have to cut it off because it's like starts to get
Pretty feathery.
Yeah.
Well, our daughters could get along. Those are my daughter. My 9-year-old is also on the same mission. Never having her hair cut. All right, already experiencing adolescence. That's what I get for studying adolescence. Okay, well, welcome back everyone to our last segment. Any questions or thoughts that have arisen during the break that anyone would like to bring up? Ask for clarity on. We had one question in the break period just about like what next. So this is a training in and of itself, a 3-day workshop, which most of you were able to come for most of. But we currently don't have it tied to anything else. So for those who are interested in opportunities to learn more, get more practice facilitating mindfulness, to facilitating the Breathe program, just talk to me or Rachel or Doug about opportunities that are upcoming for projects we have in the pipeline, funded and in the pipeline. Okay. So we are going to do an introduction to H, the last session. I am going to sort of do like a timeout periodically just to say this is what you normally do. I'm skipping over it just because some of it doesn't make too much sense for us to do for practicing. And then we will do 2 activities during this last session that you will have a chance to practice. And so hopefully you know from yesterday or Friday rather who's facilitating what. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming back. You know what? I'm just going to dive into kind of a setup, but I am really I'm really worried that we're really short, not going to have enough time if I get into all that for you all to practice. So I'm going to abbreviate that. So as a timeout, we would welcome everybody. We would do some kind of opening mindfulness practice. We do, in Rachel's manual, she does a relaxing sigh and relaxing sigh practice. We would do something, we can have a choice of opening mindfulness practices. Most teens by session 6 are into the groove, so they come in, they know, and dive right into that. Then there would be home practice review. And this part, even though we're skimming over, is really important. We want to be hearing from them on what they're applying in their day-to-day lives. So we would hear about that, ask explicitly if they've had a chance to be practicing the loving kindness and how that has been going. Then we would summarize that. I think this is maybe where I'll pick up again. Sound good? Okay. So today's last session, we get to put up our last poster, is H, if we complete our letter. I'm hiding over here underneath the many papers we've generated. Study stuff. Oh, thank you. Okay, and we're also going to improvise and put this here. You can picture that it would be here. Okay. So H is our last letter for our last session, and you can see that H stands for, who'd like to read this? Natalia, would you be willing to? Or did I choose the wrong person without the glasses? Okay. Melanie, how about you?
It says H for healthy habits of mind. It says finding ways to practice mindfulness in your life, reduce stress, and increase inner strength.
Exactly. So building on the many tools that we've been learning about ways that we can practice mindfulness through listening, through paying attention to our body, through moving mindfully, and so on and so forth, eating mindfully, all taken together, these are healthy habits that we can practice, and we can use mindfulness as a tool to be practicing more healthy habits and paying attention in the ways that we've been practicing throughout the course. And so today we're going to do some concluding activities, and it looks like, quick timeout, it looks like in Rachel's version of the program, you actually give them a choice of things that they want to practice. And so we don't do that, but that's really cool. So that's one option, is that you can actually choose from different things that they'd like to practice. So you might, after you've heard about what's working, you might actually do that. But we're going to instead do some activities to really spend some time reflecting on what are the things that we've been learning over the last 6 weeks that have really hit home or really been useful for you all in your daily lives. So we're going to start by doing an activity where I'm going to invite you to pick a piece of construction paper, and I'll pass this around after I unload our many other colored art supplies. Okay, so you can pick any color that you like. We'll pass it around. Erase marker got off too. Okay. Here. Okay. Has the paper gone around, or it's making its way around? Thank you. Okay, so in the effort of reflecting some on the things that we've learned over the past 6 weeks, I'm going to invite you to use the construction paper in any of the colored pencils or crayons that are here. And you can take this, and if you're comfortable sitting where you're at, you can sit where you're at. If you'd like to move to a table, you can move to a table. And I'd like for you to draw something, or you can illustrate a word that's a response to any of these 3 questions. 1, what did I learn? 2, what is the most important message? Of mindfulness for me? Or 3, how will I use what you've learned in this program in my life? What did I learn? What's the most important message of mindfulness for me personally? And how will I use what I learned in my life? So take some time to work on this activity, and you can think of this activity as a mindfulness practice. So as you're sitting here working on your square, just be paying attention to what's happening with your thoughts, with your body, and how you're feeling as you're processing or drawing the response to one of these questions. I already know what color. Take it home with them, or
They can take it home, but we do a thing where they, each person has the opportunity to share. So we do this as the closing, essentially, after we do practices. Like we give them a list,
Okay.
and choose like 2 practices, and then we close. So we move from that into closing circle, where then each person can share what's
use
on their
that
page.
to share.
And they set it down, share whatever they'd like to.
take about another minute to wrap up whatever you're working on.
So, thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and come back together. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're pretty close to this formation, but we're gonna scooch in just a teeny bit so that if you wanted to, we could all sort of reach out and touch the hand of the person next to us. I think everyone is pretty much there. We'll just sort of make our circle a teeny bit tighter. Okay, awesome. Okay, and Melanie, if you want to just wrap up what you're doing, that'd be great. It looks beautiful. Okay, so let's do a little back end here. Okay. So we are now going to do our concluding activity. And this is an activity that is about mindful listening and mindful speaking. So we're going to be going around and sharing something that we learned, what we feel like the most important message of mindfulness is for us, or how you feel like you'll use what you learned in the program in your day-to-day life, okay? You can share as much or as little as you'd like. You can share about what you drew on your sheet of paper or not. It's completely up to you to think about whatever you'd like to share. And this is how we're going to do this practice. So what we'll do is each person will start with myself, and I'm going to ring the bell. And when I ring the bell, to practice mindful listening, we're all going to really see if we can focus our attention on the complete sound of the bell. So as the ringer of the bell, do a demonstration, I'll ring it. Wait until the entire sound is done of the bell. And then I'll share whatever I'd like to share about the questions that we just reflected on. And then when I'm done speaking, I'll ring the bell again, wait for the sound to completely end, and then I'll pass it to the person on my right. Okay? Regular do the same thing, ring the bell, share whatever she'd like about what she's learned and so forth, ring it again and pass it to Melanie and so forth as we go around. So if you are the person with the bell, you know that you ring it and share whatever you'd like. If you are someone who is not, doesn't have the floor, we ask that you try to practice mindful listening. You're just really paying attention, meaning that you're really just paying attention to what each person is saying or to the sound of the bell. Okay, any questions at all about what we're going to be doing? Okay, the last part is that once you're done speaking, before you ring the bell, if you'd like, I invite you to put your sheet that you've drawn in the middle. Okay, and whoever would like to share that, again, you don't have to, it's optional, but if we put them out, we'll have a bit of a quilt of our mindfulness pictures at the end. Okay, all right. So let's just start by taking a few deep breaths. So just sort of get back, climb back into your bodies. Maybe take a few relaxing sighs with the air coming in your nose. And out your mouth. Let's just do this just for a couple more moments. Closed, you can open them. I'd like to share my picture. Recently learned in card trivia that a red H, just pretend this is red, stands for hospital. I'm really embarrassed to say that I thought it was hotel, which is, I feel a little embarrassed about, but now I know it's hospital. So this is a hospital here, and this is a university, and this is the community. And so what I took away from my time in this training was just thinking about how we connect all the dots. So how do we take this, I think, really valuable tool of learning to breathe as a program, and how do we get it into the hands of people taking care of kids in hospitals and grown-ups, families, and people out in the community who don't have access to health care. So this is a big sort of part of the work I'd like to be involved with Breathe moving forward, is sort of how do we take what we have the privilege of getting to do here at CSU and get it into hands of people who really could stand to benefit from mindfulness practice.
So this is my part of this is my picture. And I mostly just drew words on here. So first I started with kindness because I felt like that was a really important takeaway from this. To have kindness and compassion for myself and others. And then I wrote peace because that's like a feeling that I felt through most of the program and something that I can take away from it as well. I wrote the words breathe because coming back to the breath as an anchor is always really helpful. And then I animated it with some like swirls and some like rays of sunlight, and then I made the bee into a butterfly because now we've gone through the program and we are no longer a caterpillar. We can fly out. And then I drew the sun because once you learn these skills for yourself, you can radiate positive energy for everybody else.
This is my representation of, I guess, the main letters here are like emotions and surfing the waves, your thoughts, and then your feelings, and getting in touch with all those. And for me, the biggest part is just learning to be an observer of all of those. And one of the take-home points was like, you aren't your thoughts, and they're just thoughts. I think that's really powerful in my own life, because I remember the moment I was like, what do you mean about my thoughts? Like, I don't know, both my parents are scientists, and I just was always like, yeah, of course, like the neuroscience of that is something I really identified with, and taking a step back and just realizing that it's not always something you have to completely believe or identify with was really powerful for me. And I drew kind of like a hand over the heart position, because that's something I'm gonna take forward and try to remember to do in terms of self-compassion. I really think that was a powerful experience for me, and I can feel that in my body when I include some sort of like movement practice like we've been doing here. So I can like feel the warmth when I do that. That's gonna be my home practice. I read it again. Okay.
So I focus my picture more on what I want to continue working on. So I've had a lot of practice really being in touch with what I feel and what I think, but something that I always struggle with is what I do with that. So I just want to continue really practicing kindness. So in my picture I just have a big heart with me in the center, and then I have like arrows that go out and inward. So realizing that when I practice it for myself, I'm also benefiting others. So really continuing to practice kindness, compassion, love, not only to myself but to other people. So I really think that that's always the lesson in mindfulness that I think that I always forget about, because I think for me it's the hardest one to actually practice. So I just want to continue practicing.
So gentle. That's good.
So I drew Surfing the Waves, and Kevin is one of the three people to draw these. But that just felt particularly important to me during this round, just that you can't get rid of these emotions, but you can learn to surf the ups and downs of life, and that emotions are really just like energy surges, just like waves. So that just felt important to me this round.
It's a wave. It's a wave of air.
about mindfulness for a while, but I feel like I've really understood it a lot after this. So I also kind of did the motif of surfing the waves as well, because again, that was a pretty big one for me, learning a lot about like emotions and swells and different things like that. I also, from today, I took a lot about self-compassion, just because again, we don't always remember to be kind to ourselves, and also just like we practice meanness to ourselves a lot, and I guess we're not always aware of it, but again, like once we become aware and we're able to kind of confront that and think about it through a mindful lens, and that's really helpful for me, and hopefully I'll be able to share that with other people as well. So then I put like other people to kind of on the edges, just to represent, like I can share it, and I wrote like purposeful, present, openness, kindness, and curiosity, just to kind of represent the 3 key parts of mindfulness and my experiences.
So I wrote, or I drew a little person with some clouds. Thinking about what the most important message from this training has been for me, it is recognizing that it is okay to sit with all of the thoughts, not just the pleasant ones or the neutral ones, but also the unpleasant ones. I think prior to this training, I often thought, well, if I'm going to sit down and meditate or be mindful, I need to be in a relaxed state, or I need to be trying to get to a relaxed state, instead of just sitting down, whether I was stressed or happy or sad, and just sitting with it and just noticing whatever that feeling was. So I guess for me it was kind of that non-judgment and just sitting it, noticing whatever comes in and letting it go the same way that it came in. So yeah.
So I drew Surf the Waves of Your Emotions, and I chose to do this one because I think this is one of the hardest things for me to practice in my everyday life. I think it's like easy to succumb to those unpleasant feelings and emotions and cover them up, even though we know that that isn't helpful. So this is one area that I want to keep working on, and I think just remembering this phrase is something that I'll use moving forward. And also, I think this is something important to like bring up to my friends and families. You know, sometimes a lot of people ask for advice, or they share those emotions with you, and you're just like, and I find myself having trouble giving them people advice, like what they should do. I'm like, man, you're feeling sad, that sucks, but like, you know, and I think this is something that I can bring up to people in the future, just like the way with your emotions.
So, I'm thinking about today, the most important message of mindfulness for me is that you can start at any point. And so I drew